Hi, Connor.
Hi, Trenton.
How are you?
I am alive.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You're alive? Did
Yeah.
you eat something?
Yes.
Was it a woman?
No, it was not.
Interesting.
In case anyone has not heard this joke before.
We watched a movie, and I was wondering the entire time if he was actually Gladiator. But I never got the right answer. It's still an unknown question.
Trenton likes puns, and
I
puns are
really
awful.
like puns. And this one's just such a good one. You know, like it's rare that you find a word that is a pun that you can break down into a pun. It like glad he ate her is 4 words. And it's 1 word.
All right, so this is a classic film at this point.
Wow, 2000s though, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think the cutoff for classic is 15 years behind wherever you are.
Really?
Yeah, so
That's great.
a film that came out in 2000. Well, yeah.
I feel like it has to be generational. I feel like it has to be 20 years.
I think 15 years is enough time for something to establish whether or not it's actually got lasting power.
Yeah, gotcha.
And that's really what it comes down to. Like, if something is great after 15 years, then it's just a great film.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Yeah, it's going to stay great for a while.
Yeah.
We don't have centuries of movies yet. We will soon.
We do have centuries.
Yeah, we have a century of movies.
Yeah, pretty much.
So when did movies start?
Movies started
with the 10s?
Somewhere
1910s?
Yeah, somewhere around the 10s. I mean, if you want to get really technical, Thomas Edison created one of the first film cameras.
Mm-hmm. Can't remember when he was alive.
Long time ago.
The galaxy far away.
I don't remember quite how long ago it was.
No, we will look up later.
But this is one of those questions that's kind of debated because, like with photography, like the Lumiere brothers are kind of given that, but also photography had been around before them in the form of the pinhole camera and like...
Pinhole camera. Those are cool. I love pinhole cameras.
Yeah, but like this whole tradition, like I would say by the 1920s, you had established like, okay, yes, we do narrative films now.
Exactly. So yeah, that's century. That's cool.
So yeah,
we'll have centuries soon.
Yeah,
in 100 years. But
oh yeah, it'll take another 100, won't it? That's a good point.
We have decades though.
We do have
many
decades. We have multiple decades.
Yeah.
Film is a pretty new medium, and it's really interesting when you think about the fact that video games came after that, and so they're an even newer medium.
It's insane.
I love the fact that within the last century, we've had two
fully new mediums.
Yeah, new mediums of art.
Wow. That's crazy. Oh, it's also weird that movies existed before televisions.
Yes.
Isn't that crazy?
I don't find that crazy, but that's also because I'm a purist when it comes to films.
That makes sense, actually.
And I'm like...
projector or nothing on film.
Yeah. Okay. This is going to get into a whole different conversation. One where I bemoaned the death of physical media. So...
we need to have like a reel or 2 on those. That would be great.
Before we get too far, let's talk about the actual film that we watched today.
This is number 37 or 38, Gladiator.
Yes.
Okay,
so I absolutely adore this film. I am curious what you thought on first watch.
I'm bored.
Really?
I was bored. It was boring. I don't know why people like the movie, because I'm bored. I don't know why it's in the top 30s of the IMDb top 250.
This is wild to me.
I wish I was joking. Like, I couldn't summon the energy to joke about me being bored in this movie because I'm bored.
I am genuinely astounded.
This is gonna be good on the other side of the spoiler wall. I'm excited for this.
Yeah, so short version, this is a 10 out of 10 for enjoyment for me.
10 out of 10?
Yes. And probably a 9 out of 10 technical.
9 out of 10?
Yeah.
What was it? Was I watching a different? Okay, I'm so excited for
And
this.
the only reason it loses that point is at the beginning there is some pretty significant sound issue stuff. Really in like the first 20 minutes or so of the movie.
Super early.
But by the end of it, it's pretty like the sound design gets way better.
Yeah. I on enjoyment am at, I'll give it a 7 begrudgingly. It feels like a 6.5.
A 7 entertainment value out of you.
Yeah, it like with its cold dead fingers. The the technical, I'm only at like a 7 or an 8. I just didn't like how it was shot.
Okay.
And the plot was boring.
The plot is not boring. The plot is fascinating. I love it.
This will be great, guys.
They take a vengeance story and they add in and they add in the political sides of it that make it so much more interesting.
I'm so excited for this. Yeah, this will be great. Okay,
On top of just taking one of the most despicable villains ever put to film and placing him as like sort of the central character in all of the political goings on, as well as being the purpose of vengeance. Like, it's so good.
Sounds like we've got to go and start climbing that wall. It sounds like.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Welcome, everybody. This is the spoiler wall. Please join us on the other side if you've seen the movie, or if you haven't. Connor will disagree. But like, comment, subscribe, do all the things. Tell me, please, why I'm wrong, because I really want to know more about the good parts of this movie.
It's so good.
And I'm going to learn more about them here, which is great. So please like, comment, subscribe. See y'all soon.
All right. Summaries. Short version, Maximus gets betrayed, going from being a general to being commanded to be executed. He goes home and gets picked up by slavers, turned into a gladiator, and then pursues his path as a gladiator to vengeance against the emperor who originally betrayed him.
Cool. Yeah, that's like a summary.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Usually our summaries are off the rails.
Yeah, see, this is part of the reason that it's boring. Yeah, so the story is a guy was a general, was going to be emperor, was not emperor because of betrayal, and then his family was killed. He was enslaved. He became a gladiator, and then killed the guy that you're expecting him to kill at the end, and then died.
You really didn't like this movie.
I didn't like this movie. And it wasn't even like in a visceral way. It was just, what's the enjoyment factor?
I mean, I think it's the journey for a good portion of it. Like, this is just a film that moves from spectacle to spectacle, and the entire time has interesting things to say in each point. Like, the character of Proximus, right? The guy who is
second in command, but then goes first in command of the army.
No.
Oh, who's Proximus?
No, the master of the slaving group.
He was cool.
Yeah. Like, having this character who was set free from being a gladiator and then choosing, with all of the options available to him, to
train more gladiators.
Train more gladiators because it's the life he knew. Like, I think that, just as like a very small microcosm, is a small piece of what makes this movie great. Like, each character has something like that just makes you go, oh, this is interesting and fun, and I don't understand why you don't like it, Trenton.
I'm really confused here. Like, 'cause watching it, I like getting a little bit of surprise. Little pieces of just like, oh, that's slightly different than how I was expecting they were going to do it.
Yeah.
It's the same result, which is great, but like, it's like you start the movie and you know what happens at the end.
I mean, that's
in nearly
fair.
A linear path.
That's fair. This is not a movie that I would suggest for You are probably looking for more twists and turns and that
I was
kind of
looking
thing.
for a lot more. Or just actually, no, not even a lot more. Just a couple of twists and turns.
Okay, that's fair.
Like, actually go and get the army that is camped outside.
I'll be honest, that was the biggest twist for me. I expected him to go get the army the first time I watched it.
Yeah, and like I was feeling like, okay, that could happen, but it isn't what the story is. This is a vengeance story. This isn't a go back and take over Rome and then you live afterwards when your family has already been killed story.
I mean, it would be if it was Dune.
I know, but it's not Dune. That's sci-fi. It's a completely different genre. I'm thinking it is the genre that I dislike. Like, I went into this feeling like, because there's action movies that are like, they keep you in the suspense and the action the entire time, and you're just like pulled along, and it's very exciting.
Yeah.
And you don't really think about the plot very much because it's not there on purpose.
Yeah.
Then there's like political intrigue movies, which like have normally less action, but they're making your brain think a lot. Like, I would count Inception as one of like those in a weird way.
Or you could like take one of the early Bourne movies, for example.
Ooh, I love
like Bourne Identity.
No. Bourne Identity. Ooh, no, you pointed it out. You're right. Like the Bourne Identity is like just it's a very good vengeance story. Identity through even supremacy.
Yeah.
Where this guy
I would go as far as Ultimatum, but continue.
You're right. Sorry, I forgot the Ultimatum existed.
Yeah.
You know, I like the movie.
Ultimatum's the best of the trilogy.
Yeah, because it's the last one, right?
It is.
Yeah, I thought so.
It also,
I liked all of them.
It also had. We're gonna go on a side tangent here. Ultimatum was by far the technically best done of those three movies.
It was such a good movie. I need to go watch it again because it's been a hot second.
The sound design alone on that film was phenomenal. Also, all of the set pieces are far better.
And all of this, even the like basicness of the assassins was just so cool.
Right, yeah. It was stuff where like there were a lot of those scenes where you're like, oh, that just makes sense. Like, that's, if it was a Bond movie, it would have been far more over the top or something like that.
And this one, appropriate.
In this one, there's like, oh, I pretend like I've been seen by you so that I have time to blow you up with a bomb kind of things. Like, it was
so good.
Yeah.
Oh, no. And I feel like you probably have a little bit pointed out, like, you know, through all the Bourne series, what's going to happen.
Yeah,
Jason Bourne's going to find what happened to him, and he's going to kill them.
Yeah.
Or they're going to die in some way.
I mean, I would say a part of what is appealing about the Bourne movies, though, is not that. It's the
journey on the way.
Well, it's the figuring out what is going on with the whole conspiracy
and the larger government and the assassination program, but they have so much cool stuff going on top of the fact that this is a vengeance story.
I know I'm playing directly into your.
I know. I love it. Thank you, Connor.
Yeah, you're welcome.
In this one, I was just missing that. Like, I liked the sub theme of camaraderie, and some of the political stuff was cool. But you see three characters in the political intrigue part. You see,
like, Gaius is so cool.
Gaius is awesome. No, Gaius is a great character as well.
Yeah,
but he doesn't add very much to the story. Neither does the guy also they had Gaius, who was like, okay, cool, I'm lawful good. You have Falco, never punches anyone, and he's lawful evil. And then you have this like weird Weasley guy in the middle that you see momentarily, but he doesn't really, like, he's on the good guy side, but I don't know what his name is, and he doesn't matter.
Okay.
And those are the only political people you see the entire time. There's sprinklings of partially okay things through the entire movie. And I'm just not sated.
Okay. I mean, that's fair. You can have that opinion.
Good. Thanks.
I don't know. There's just so much about this movie that it does right. And I would say one of the things that it really solidified, like, if you watch, I was even thinking while we were watching it, like, I see a lot of this movie's DNA in the Dune movies that we just watched. Like, a lot of the visual style and a lot of, like, sort of the way that things were treated after this movie. I would say it doesn't I don't think Dune necessarily pulls directly from Gladiator, but I would say
there are things that from this that inspired
from
it.
this that moved into the film world and became sort of like just the way you do it.
Yeah.
Um,
Like what?
the way that it portrayed the killing at the end, right? That slow or that slow
Ooh.
knife
Yeah.
into the Emperor's throat.
That was the Phaedra fight at the end. Yeah, completely agree.
I would say the fight was the Phaedra fight. The killing blow
Mm-hmm.
was him taking out Baron Harkonnen.
Yeah. Oh,
And
very good point.
And that was
Yeah, it
not
was.
the case before this movie. Like, you
Nice.
watch other movies before this, it was always like, if they had the guts to go visceral, it was fast.
Yeah.
It was like,
it wasn't
just
well.
how brutal it was.
Yeah.
It was like, yeah.
It wasn't intimate.
Yeah, there was,
like-
yeah. Also,
That's a good point.
on the point of intimacy
Yeah.
in this film,
What is his name?
yeah, I'm forgetting.
Who's the Emperor's name?
Quint.
Nope.
I want to say Cassius, but that's not right.
It sounds like it's a hard sound at the front.
Yeah. Anyway, you know
Claudius? I don't remember.
You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And it'll come to me.
Emperor most of the time.
Yeah.
Not Quintus.
The one after Marcus Aurelius.
I'm sorry, not Marcus.
Yeah. The way that they portrayed his relationship with his father especially, but also the way they portrayed his relationship with his sister gave you like a really clear understanding of who this character was.
Absolutely.
And made him simultaneously extremely tragic and also completely despicable.
Completely despicable. That's a really good point, actually.
Like, that's a hard balance to find.
I'm pretty sure what you're going to be doing in this discussion is like helping me raise my technical score. Enjoyment might go down to a 6. We'll see how this goes.
Okay. I mean, I think one thing that like this film just does perfectly is its characters. And if you are coming to it for an experience with lots of perfectly done characters that maybe like you want to talk about like Gaius and Falco, like you get a very strong sense of who they are despite the fact that they have like maybe 10 minutes of screen time each.
That's a really good point. And also a bunch of the like gladiator people that are fighting with Maximus.
Right, yeah.
Are really good. And you get to see their character development over time. Like the main guy that was testing people, and how he shifts from being kind of like stoic to being very much on the side of Maximus is very cool.
Yeah, the Germanic slave.
Yeah.
Because, like you first meet him and you're like, this guy's a prick.
Yeah.
And by the end, you're like, okay.
I'm kind of sad that you died.
Yeah.
I'm not emotionally attached to any person except for his assistant. I was really sad when he died.
Oh, yeah.
But that's it. I didn't have an emotional connection. I did understand how each of them was. Like, I understood why each of them was a cool character. And that's a really good point. The characterization in this was really, really good.
Yeah.
But I don't care about him. I didn't care about Maximus. When he died at the end, I was like, yeah, I know that. Like,
I mean, again,
he said he was going to do this the entire movie.
This feels like the exact reverse of how I felt when all of the people came out and started talking about Tenet.
Yeah.
Like all of,
I really liked Tenet.
Every single person came out and was like, well, this was wrong and this was wrong and this was wrong. And I'm like, yeah, but the movie was good.
That's fantastic.
Like, you're right. The protagonist was bland and personality-less, sure, but it was a good movie.
It was a good movie.
Also, George Washington, or not George Washington, why am I forgetting his name? John Davis Washington. I want to say is his name.
Main character?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Anyway, main character did a great job of performing the role that he was supposed to. Also, in the script, he was literally called protagonist. I don't think he was supposed to be super well realized as a human being.
He's the protagonist. That's all you have here. Like, that is a very good point. I really liked Tenet as well. And I know that I am very much in the minority here. Like, if you talk about Gladiator to any person that saw it in theaters or saw it, like, shortly after, like, they love it. It's a great movie to them. They're like, okay, cool. Love Gladiator. So I know I very much am not in the majority of people currently.
And I'm not saying you have to be. Like,
That's fine.
I'm not going to convince you that you actually enjoyed this movie.
Sometimes you can. Sometimes you're really good at it. There have been movies where I'm like, oh, no, that was better, Connor. You're right. There's one recently, I think.
Oh, really?
I think it may have been either partially Parasite or... No, it was Psycho. You gradually increased my liking of Psycho as we were talking about it.
I personally like movies more when I respect them more.
Yeah.
Typically. There are some exceptions. When we watch Taxi Driver, I will explain to you exactly why I hate that movie, despite the fact that it's a fucking masterpiece.
Nice. I'm so excited.
That said, Gladiator is one where, like, the more times I've watched it and the more things I've picked up, the more I go, that was just cool brilliant.
And I feel like I have small things like that as well. And this is just, I will probably just need to watch it some more. Like, it's here for, like, the brutality and action, which are just generally two things that, if they're there on their own merit, don't reach me.
No, that's fair.
They're just like, okay.
Yeah. Whereas I appreciate a really well done action scene, and I enjoy it more if it's kind of brutal.
Yes, you very much do. Yeah. Which is awesome. I'm like, okay, well, a person got sawed in half by a chariot. Like, big whoop.
You had a visceral reaction when that happened.
It was really cool. There are some ones that are really cool.
I remember the first time I saw them come out of the gates, and the guy's got the flail, and he hits the one guy, and it's such a brief moment. But I remember, like, literally sitting back where I was. I was like a 15-year-old kid, right? Like, watching that. I had never seen something like that.
That's a really good point as well. Like, you almost expect it coming out, but you didn't expect it to be, like, as straightforward as it was. Like, the shock value in certain scenes is really, really good.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if I watched the theatrical cut, if
we did watch the extended cut.
Yeah, we did watch the extended cut, which is not I don't know if it's a good or bad thing. I almost feel like the theatrical cut may have, like, kept me for longer.
That's fair. If I remember correctly, there's not a huge difference between the theatrical cut and the extended cut. I think it's like 10 extra minutes or something like that. And most of it is like little aside shots and that kind of stuff, like extra things in some of the montages and stuff like that. So, yeah.
The lions are cool. I like the lions. Sad that one of them died.
The tigers? Yeah.
Tigers. Sad that they died.
One thing that did strike me when watching this was during that scene, I'm like, if Maximus gets out of this alive, you basically just created a legend.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that's
there
the one.
There are 4 lions and an ex-gladiator who was never defeated.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
That said, I also believe that
Calcius?
I don't know.
I think it was C-A. I think it was C
It's
something.
not for lack of them saying his name through the movie.
No, they don't say it very often, though, because after he becomes Caesar...
Yeah.
Like, it's not very often. Gladiator characters. We'll figure this out, guys. Commodus.
Commodus, yes. Anyway, name. I do... I am willing to believe, based on the portrait they gave of him, that he was arrogant enough to think that this would work.
Yeah.
Like, basically just say, throw everything we can into this ring and it'll definitely kill the dude. So, like,
it'll be fine.
I don't have to worry about it. Yeah.
It didn't.
And then it didn't.
And so he got even more power. That was cool. I liked but still, like, it just felt like intentional ramping. Like, I didn't feel like Maximus was ever in danger because I knew at the end of the movie he had to kill the Commodus guy.
Yeah.
Like, there weren't pieces that made me feel like, oh, maybe it's gonna twist in a different way.
That's fair.
I have to go and think more about this movie.
I think the other thing to recognize is I've seen a lot of movies where they give you the disappointing ending.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think you coming into this movie with the expectation of just, yes, he's going to get the thing that he wants from the beginning.
Exactly.
Is kind of different from the expectation I have, where I'm like, there's a very good chance that he just gets unceremoniously killed.
Not in 2.5 hours.
At the end of the movie? Definitely.
Nah.
Or gets horribly maimed and then sits in a dungeon for the rest of the movie. Like,
that one's fun. I like that one.
These are things
that one could have been happening.
These are things that I have seen happen in movies before, and so I'm not expecting them anymore.
Like, I can't remember what you recall. I think it was the Sword and Sandals movie. Like, it doesn't feel like that's what this genre calls for.
That's fair. There is a certain amount of plot armor that tends to come with these kind of movies because...
He had a lion on top of him and no blood. Yeah. Sorry, tiger on top of him and no blood.
Okay. That's
he had to suffer blood loss from the beginning of the movie whenever he's, like, attacked. Mm-hmm. And then somehow, with self-stitching and still writing really hard, gets back to his family and not died of blood loss at the very beginning. Then he has at least 3 or 4 or 5 minutes of blood loss after Commodus stabs him. And they go and fight.
Yeah. Yeah.
He has so much blood armor, this man.
3 to 5 minutes does not seem like enough time to have bled out from the hole that he was given at the beginning of...
Hey, Siri.
How long does it take for someone to bleed out?
1 second, I have to turn off my go to sleep. Hey, Siri. How long does it take for someone to bleed out? That was wrong. Hey, Siri. Oh, good. If the hemorrhage isn't stopped, a person can bleed to death in just 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's about right.
Yeah. And do you know what happens before you bleed to death? You don't stand and you don't fight.
This is movie timeline.
And I don't even know why this gets me right now. Normally that's fine in my brain.
Yeah.
But you know, like, they
especially
make
when you consider the fact that you love The Lord of the Rings and
Lord of the Rings.
Aragorn falls down off of a cliff into a river.
Gets the elf magic saves him, okay.
Does it though?
Because he's part elf magic.
He gets licked back to semi-consciousness by a horse, which he rides slumped over the entire
time back. Oh, it's so true. I feel like there was something about this movie that said, hey, take me seriously, and then did things that I was like, no.
See, this occupies the ground in my mind between take me very seriously and also I'm going to be a fun adventure.
How is this a fun adventure?
It is a fun adventure.
It's a vengeance adventure.
Yeah, it's a vengeance adventure.
It's a venture. And vengeance.
You don't need to portmanteau this. We're good.
Yeah, great. How else will the poor men get their toes?
Oh my gosh. All right, I'm going to talk about the end.
Please do. I'm really funny.
One of the things that I really liked about the final duel, and this strikes me every once in a while when I'm watching it, is they put our hero, who is an underdog and all of that kind of stuff, in black, and they put the Emperor, who
white.
Is straight up an evil dude.
Yeah.
In white.
And it's one of the first times he's in white. Like, he's normally in a darker color.
Right, yeah. He's usually in purple because, that's royal. But I think that was a really interesting way to do it because they also put him in a dirty enough sort of white costume that it feels like he's sort of stained almost by all of the actions you've seen him do through the movie. And the black armor doesn't have sort of that ominous feeling in that moment. And I think some of it is because you've gotten used to it through the movie. But
that's a really
I think that's just a really interesting way to sort of frame it, is like, yeah, he was supposed to be the good guy for Rome, and Maximus was supposed to be the bad guy. But their roles have very much been switched by the way you see everything play out and the way that they've just have made these subtle touches to their armor and that kind of stuff.
That is really good.
Yeah.
No, I completely agree. And that also just very much still plays into his character.
Yeah.
Commodus's character and his arrogance and ego. Like, he was expecting this to work again. And it didn't again.
It kind of did. He did kill Maximus.
He did kill Maximus. Maximus did die.
And that was what was important.
Exactly. The Emperor died too. But
yeah.
Whoops.
Yeah, I mean there are also just a lot of like little touches, I think, through this movie that just make me go,
oh. What was Lady Jessica's name?
Lady Jessica?
Yeah. That's who the sister reminded me of.
Oh. I've forgotten her name too. That is the problem. That is the problem when you make a movie based off of real life.
Oh, it's Lucia? Because it was very similar to her son's name, which is Lucius.
Yeah. Anyway. She was a very well done character as well.
She was a very well done character.
You definitely get the feeling, number one, that she has sort of these lasting feelings for Maximus, as well as this fear and disdain and hatred for her brother. But she can't express it, at least outwardly, for most of it, because
of her son,
and also because her brother is a freaking psychopath.
He's so psycho. But something I didn't like about her character, she's very played up and talked up at the beginning by her father and other people as being like a very politically savvy, and then just does normal political things and then gets caught in a political trap by her unpolitically savvy brother.
Yeah. She's tipped off.
But her son.
Yeah, that's true.
Like,
that is the other thing in this movie that I always go, should you have told your son that?
You're just like,
he's I don't think the actor was 8 years old, but
he's 8 years old as a character.
The dialogue establishes he's 8 years old. Maybe 9 by the time this happens.
She gets back, yeah.
If you've ever talked to an 8 or 9 year old, you know that they do not keep anyone's secrets but their own. If they keep their own.
Exactly. Some of them are really bad at keeping their own. Some of them will absolutely sacrifice everyone else's secrets as a good diversion.
I'm never telling you any secrets.
None of my secrets are worth that right now, so we're all good.
Wait. Quentin, did you just say that you would sacrifice everyone's secrets but your own while you have clearance?
I don't know. I don't know what I say anymore. Government has told me if I can or not.
All right, well, there you have it. It has been recorded. Trenton will sell out anyone's secrets but his own.
Don't listen to this, my FBI agent. Just kidding. I think it's DOD right now. But
but yeah, lots of little things through this movie. For example,
like, it again with the knowledge that I shouldn't be watching this as a full feature that is going to surprise me, but actually as a nice number of small vignettes with cool characters.
Yeah, and I would say a grand overarching sort of
Boring plot. Like they set everything up too perfectly. Like you have the Emperor go and tell Maximus, "Hey, I want you to be the person that brings Rome back into being a Senate." And then he goes off. He's like, "Oh, he's struggling with it, but he's not. He's gonna do it because he's duty bound. Whatever." And then you have the Emperor go and tell his son, who we already know from the very good character development, is not going to take this as well as the father thinks, which goes again into the father's character, which is also well done, at being kind of naive when it comes to his own family.
Yeah.
Which he remarks on, is self-aware on it, but doesn't do anything with that information. Still tells his son, "Hey, I'm going to go make Maximus the Sultan," and then
the Sultan. You've been watching Aladdin?
No. Oh, but I have been playing a game that's set in India.
Oh.
Anyway, right now it's set in India. So the and then he just kills him by smothering. Interesting. But
I've the killing part, I've always kind of seen it as like a mixture between smothering and crushing.
Yeah.
His father is very old.
Very weak.
And very weak, yeah.
So like him actually dying wasn't that much of a surprise because it's what the plot demands.
Yeah.
And then the next part of the plot is he's gonna go and betray the guy that has his love, and then I'm gonna go kill his family because we need to have a vengeance thing, and then the movie just carries on from there. I'm disappointed, Connor. I'm bored and disappointed. I wanted something better.
You didn't find the overall narrative tragically beautiful? As like I even see like the way that this plays out, like the fact that you know that Maximus's death has to be coming. Like there's no way it isn't. The images of him at the beginning with the Elysium Fields and all of that kind of stuff, the fact that his family's gone, like they almost tease you with like a hope of him having another shot at family life with
which he doesn't take.
Right.
Because he's duty bound. And
Right.
you learn that from the very beginning.
Right. But they almost show it as like this is a possible way that his life could go
They
and
don't
that
do it
kind of
hard
stuff.
enough.
But
they don't commit hard enough. They
yeah,
need to commit harder.
okay. That's my point though. They don't need to commit harder because the fact that they're sort of teasing this, but not as a way that it could actually go, but as sort of a solidification of the fact that Maximus has to die. And so, like, watching his end come, when I saw him topple over at the very end of the film after fighting Commodus, like, it just felt so poetic and right.
Mm-hmm.
Not predictable and boring, poetic and right.
This is fantastic. This never happens. This is crazy.
I don't know. I think there's just something so perfect about his tragedy, and I wouldn't say it's too perfectly set up. I would say it's properly set up for it to be perfect.
And boring. Needs to be a little rougher. Needs to be a little more like...
More like the Star Wars prequels?
Maybe. Don't make me say that, Connor. needs to have a little more like like
dialogue about sand.
Temptation for the main character to not, for every character to not do what their trope is.
Okay.
No one even thinks about going outside of their trope. Not a person. There isn't temptation in any direction to go outside of your trope. None. Everyone follows what is expected from the genre and from these characters the entire movie. And then he gives this cute little thing that's like, hey, take care of my men. Here's all the other things you should do. And then dies.
Yeah.
Perfectly boringly. It feels like there should have been a chalk outline that he fell into because of how just predicted this is going to be.
All right. I feel like we've kind of hit a brick wall here. Tell me if I'm wrong.
No, I think you're right. I don't think that there's any direction here, which is weird.
Well,
the characters were great. They were well developed.
There you have it, folks. Gladiator is either a masterpiece
or really boring,
or a movie that has been made so perfectly that it falls into the most boring cliches of all time.
Yeah.
Tell us in the comments what you think.
Yeah, please do. I would really love to either have the silent majority on my side or just get overwhelmed. I would love that. Please let me know. What are we doing next week? Are we starting our Miyazaki?
I think we're going to start our Miyazaki tier list.
So exciting. We're going to start our Miyazaki tier list. Most of the Miyazakis are on the list. So we're just going to go and spend a couple months going and watching all of them. And we'll have a cool little list that we can go and look through.
Yep. My apologies to all of you who are excited about us watching The Lion King, but we're going to have to put that off for a little while.
Yep. But it will be fun. And it will also likely be explicit.
Yes.
Oh, all right, Connor.
Don't worry, we will get to Lion King.
Hopefully we have another episode after this. After this just huge fallout.
Oh. I'm not mad at you. I just think you're wrong.
Yay! Ditto. That's nice. Find a friend that can not be mad at you, but also know that you're wrong in their soul.
Mm-hmm.
How do we end this?